The Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, condemned Colombia's President Ivan Duque's refusal to provide COVID-19 vaccines to Venezuelans residents in Colombia. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, announced that a Brexit deal has finally been struck. In Tunisia, the coastguard forces recovered the remains of 20 migrants. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. The government of Venezuela held a meeting with the High Commissioner for Human Rights of the United Nations, Michelle Bachelet, in which they discussed the financial blockade that violates the rights of the Venezuelan people. During the meeting, in which the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jorge Arreaza, also participated, the official denounced the unilateral measures issued by the United States against Venezuela, which prevents the access to its financial resources. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez pointed out that the President, Nicolás Maduro Moros, is working on the steps to unblock the resources for the country to have access to vaccines and to carry out the national immunization process.
Venezuela has resources with which to pay for its vaccine. Venezuela has resources that, unfortunately, were blocked by order of the government of Donald Trump, as a result of the unrest and intolerance of an extremist minority group of the Venezuelan right. Venezuela has many financial resources in Europe, and we are taking steps to have them released in order to access and pay for the vaccine. In this case, the Russian-made Sputnik V vaccine.
The Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, also condemned Colombia's President Ivan Duque's statements that he will not vaccinate Venezuelans in Colombia. The Vice President described the decision as a xenophobic and a violation of migrants' rights.
We have denounced the terrible, barbaric and disheartening statements that Ivan Duque made, saying, affirming and asserting that they are not going to vaccinate the Venezuelans who are in Colombia. No leader had ever dared to do such a thing. It is barbaric, discriminatory, xenophobic. We had never heard such a thing, referring to migrants. I had never heard such a violent statement that undoubtedly violates human rights of Venezuelan migrants.
On Thursday, the Bolivian government confirmed the discovery of a gas deposit in the south of the country. The president of Bolivia, Luis Arce, confirmed that the gas mine was found in the area of Caipipendi, between the departments of Tarija and Chuquisaca. President Arce detailed that the deposit has an extension of at least 1 quintillion cubic feet and informed that as of December 2021, it is foreseen to start its production within the framework of the recovery plan of oil fields that the government promotes. Official reports state that fuel imports caused an expenditure of around $669 million to the country during 2020. Healthcare workers in Mexico City received the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19 as the country starts a mass coronavirus vaccination program. The launch came a day after the first 3,000 doses produced by the U.S. pharmaceutical giant Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech arrived by courier plane from Belgium. Mexico registers more than 120,000 COVID-19 fatalities and around 1.35 million infections. Mexico City and surrounding areas last week announced a new suspension of all non-essential activities, warning that hospitals were in danger of being overwhelmed by the spike in the number of cases. Mexico has the world's 4th highest COVID-19 death toll after the United States, Brazil, and India. Also in Costa Rica, people received the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine against COVID-19 as the country begins a mass immunization campaign against the new coronavirus, joining Mexico among the first Latin American countries to begin mass immunization campaigns. Costa Rica received its first batch of 9,750 COVID-19 vaccines late Wednesday. President Carlos Alvarado said that it may be the beginning of the end of this pandemic. In Chile, the vaccination campaign against COVID-19 is underway. Chilean healthcare workers received the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine at the Hospital Emergency Public Assistance in Santiago. 46-year-old nursing assistant Zulema Riquelme was the first person shown receiving the jab, hours after the first 10,000 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine arrived by plane. This Thursday, the Brazilian government announced that they will close Rio de Janeiro's Copacabana neighborhood to tourists during Christmas and New Year's Eve to avoid the spread of COVID-19. Mayor Jorge Felipe said the measure will exclude Copacabana residents and forbid the entrance of private vehicles from 8 p.m. Felipe also pointed out that the importance of preserving life and health protection, demanding rigorous biosecurity measures from public organizations. The small city that is known for its beaches will have to maintain movement restrictions due to the increase in the number of hospital admissions and also fatalities from COVID in recent weeks. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away.
Who's moving the chess man? What interests and motivate the actors behind each event? What's at stake? Critical Moves investigates every event from Monday to Friday, only on TeleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. Tunisia's coastguard on Thursday retrieved the bodies of 20 migrants after their boat capsized at sea, with at least 15 more feared missing, including children. Defense Ministry spokesperson Mohamed Sehri said 5 other migrants who were on board were rescued, also saying that a search operation was underway. The rescue effort took place off the port of Sfax in central Tunisia. Sfax Corps spokesperson Murad Turki said 13 of the 20 bodies recovered were women. Turkey also said that Tunisian fishermen who were nearby after the sinking said that children were also on board of the boat and are still missing. Khaled Hayouni, a spokesperson for the Interior Ministry, said the boat was heading to Italy when it sank. Tunisia is just a few hundred kilometers from mainland Europe and has long been a launchpad for illegal migration to the continent. In Ethiopia, at least 5 Benishangul Gumuz local government officials were arrested after the massacre that left at least 100 indigenous people dead in that region. Official reports reveal that among those captures is the Minister of State and Head of Labor and Social Affairs of Benishangul Gumuz, Thomas Kui. The officials were arrested allegedly because of their political inability to annul the presence of armed groups in the region. The Ethiopian government reported that it is working to clarify the motive for the event and to find those responsible. The African Center for Disease Control and Prevention alerts on the possible presence of a new variant of the coronavirus in Nigeria. The head of the health institution, John Negason, detailed that the contagious virus presents similar features to those detected in the United Kingdom and South Africa. However, Nekasan affirmed that it is not known the expansion of the new strain in Nigeria and neighboring countries because the new variant presents reduced data for its scientific study. And South Africa announced an alarming rate of spread of the coronavirus, with more than 14,000 new cases confirmed in the last 24 hours, including over 400 fatalities. Health Minister Zwelini Mkhize said the latest update was the largest single-day increase in cases. Mkhize also said the country registers more than 950,000 infections. The new COVID-19 variant in South Africa is now the most predominant, as confirmed infections in the country approaches 1 million. While the variant transmits quickly and viral loads are higher, it is not yet clear whether it leads to more severe symptoms.
The cases yesterday were at a record, and so that still means more hospitalizations coming in due course, and the system is really struggling to cope with that. I think it's very concerning because there's no sign at the moment that we're reaching a peak. There's still rapid exponential growth. We do need to think of additional restrictions so that it's clear to people the seriousness of the current situation, because already many hospitals in many parts of the country are extremely stretched.
On Thursday, the Russian Emergency Ministry delivered humanitarian aid to the injured in Nagorno-Karabakh. Russian Emergency Ministry worker Vadim Garshin said the aid included building materials, basic commodities and electric generators. Russian peacekeepers are in Nagorno-Karabakh to monitor a ceasefire blocked by Moscow that ended more than 6 weeks of fighting between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Russia deployed nearly 2,000 peacekeepers for at least 5 years to monitor the agreement and to facilitate the return of refugees.
Today, the Russian Emergency Ministry has unloaded and delivered to Nagorno-Karabakh another 9 wagons of humanitarian aid, including construction and roofing materials, basic commodities, as well as electric generators and firefighters' vehicles.
On Thursday, China said the international community should resolutely say no to the discrimination against China in the global economic, trade and technological cooperation, just as they do to racial discrimination. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson made the call in response to the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's Twitter, claiming that the U.S. has turned the tide on the Chinese Communist Party's 5G master plan.
We have time and again pointed out the purpose of some U.S. politicians to overgeneralize the concept of national security and abuse the state power to suppress certain foreign enterprises is to maintain the U.S. monopoly in the field of science and technology. It is a typical instance of economic bullying and running counter to market competition principles and the international trade rules and disrupting the stability of global industrial and supply chains. The so-called U.S. Clean Network is nothing but another word for coercive transactions. It runs against the will of the people and is sure to meet resistance from more and more countries. I have taken note of the fact that some European media have recently reported that the U.S. sanctions against China is a U.S. first policy and European enterprises have no intention to take sides in between the two sides. At present, China has built a total of 718,000 5G base stations to become the world's biggest 5G network. We are willing to cooperate with all other countries on the basis of mutual openness, equality and mutual benefit. At the same time, we call on the international community to resolutely say no to the country-specific discrimination in the global economy, trade and technological cooperation, just as they do to racial discrimination.
And Syria's government strongly believes that the Syrian people and army will soon achieve a definite victory in the battle for the liberation of its territories occupied by terrorist groups and other foreign troops, a belief that drives the nation to prepare the conditions for the reconstruction and restoration of the areas to be taken back in the northwestern province of Idlib, the last extremist bastion in the country. Our correspondent Hisham Wanus has the story.
The Commerce, Industry, Agriculture and Tourism Chambers of Damascus, together with a large number of commercial actors and businessmen, launched the initiative Syria the Great Heart. The purpose of this campaign is to advance in the reconstruction of the liberated areas of Idlib and to prepare the logistic conditions for the restoration of the areas to be liberated, a joint state and private effort that, in addition to putting an end to the suffering of Idlib's inhabitants, seeks to recover the strategic agricultural, livestock and industrial potential of this province.
Idlib is one of the largest food producer areas in Syria. where there are millions of olive trees and other varieties, in addition to large poultry farms and multiple textile factories, along with other industrial and commercial facilities, which is why we launched this initiative for restoration, as it is of great importance to improve the national economy.
We are currently working to prepare the logistics, even though we know that Idlib has not been completely liberated. But this doesn't prevent us as businessmen from helping to recover and restore the province of Idlib and improve the standard of living of its brave inhabitants who are resisting terrorism and occupation, just as the other Syrian provinces did.
Meanwhile, the Syrian Arab Army and its Russian allies mobilized their troops and sent military and logistic reinforcements to Idlib in preparation for the great battle for its complete liberation, an action that takes place in response to the constant violation by al-Nusra terrorists of the ceasefire agreed last March between the presidents of Russia and Turkey, as well as the agreement of the de-escalation zones reached in May 2017 in the framework of the Astana talks, co-sponsored by Moscow, Ankara and Tehran.
All the ministries, as well as the Ministries of Agriculture, Industry and Tourism, establish work agendas to restore the liberated regions, and we are sure that very soon the entire territory of Idlib will be liberated, as well as the other territories occupied by foreign forces.
As in Idlib, the Syrian Arab Army continues its battle for the liberation of the other territories in the north and northeast of the country, currently occupied by US troops, the so-called Syrian Democratic Forces and other foreign forces. The current power struggle in the Syrian city of Ain Issa, bordering Turkey and under the control of Kurdish separatist militias, is an example of this reality.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.